The Uber driver kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror as I sat frozen in his backseat, staring at my own front door. New locks. Brass ones, still shining with that hardware store gleam. My husband Daniel squeezed my hand, but I couldn't squeeze back. I was too busy watching my sister Amber water my plants through my living room window, wearing my robe, drinking from my favorite mug. "Ma'am, this the right address?" the driver asked. "Yes," I managed. "Just give us a minute." My name is Sophia Brennan, and I'd been married for exactly 14 days. We'd spent 2 weeks in Greece, swimming in the bluest water I'd ever seen, eating too much feta, sending postcards we knew would arrive after us. The whole time, I'd been homesick for our little craftsman house, the one I'd bought 3 years ago with every penny I'd saved since I was 16. The one my sister was now apparently living in. My husband Daniel was already pulling out his phone. "I'm calling the cops." "Wait," I grabbed his wrist. Something was off. Amber hadn't broken in. She had a key. A new key to new locks. This was planned. Orchestrated. And I had a sick feeling I knew exactly who the conductors were. My phone had been off since the flight. When I powered it on, 17 messages flooded in. All from my mother, sent 2 days ago. "Amber needed a place to stay. You weren't using the house anyway. Family helps family. She's getting divorced. Have some compassion. Stop being selfish. We knew you'd understand. Don't make this difficult." The last one made me laugh, sharp and bitter. They changed my locks while I was on my honeymoon and told me not to make it difficult. I told the driver to take us to a hotel. Growing up as the younger daughter in the Brennan household meant learning early that love was a limited resource, and Amber had first dibs. She was prettier, louder, more demanding. She got the bigger room, the later curfew, the car for her 16th birthday, while I got a bus pass. When she dropped out of college, my parents paid her rent. When I graduated summa cum laude, they said, "Well, school is always easy for you." I became an accountant. Boring, according to my family. But boring paid well, and boring meant I could save. Every bonus, every tax return, every side hustle went into my house fund. I lived on ramen and determination, while Amber blew through marriages and my parents' money with equal enthusiasm. When I finally bought my house, Amber laughed. "God, Sophie, it's so small and old. Very you, I guess." My parents agreed it needed work. Too much work. I spent weekends refinishing floors, updating fixtures, turning that neglected craftsman into something beautiful. They never helped. Never even visited once it was done. But when Amber's third marriage imploded 6 months ago, suddenly my house wasn't too small or too old. Suddenly it was perfect for her to start over. I said no, repeatedly. She had options, friends' couches, extended stay hotels, our parents' basement. But she wanted my house. And what Amber wanted, Amber eventually got. I just hadn't expected them to literally steal it while I was exchanging vows. From the hotel, I made one phone call. Not to the police. Not yet. To my friend Marcus, who happened to be a real estate attorney. "They did what?" His voice went sharp. I explained everything. The new locks, the messages, the fact that my name was the only one on the deed. "Sophie, that's breaking and entering, trespassing, probably theft if they change the locks. Do you want to press charges?" "I want to know my options." He outlined all of them, and one particular option made me smile for the first time since landing. "Don't contact them yet," Marcus advised. "Let me handle the paperwork. Give me 48 hours. So I waited. Daniel and I lived in that hotel room, eating takeout on a bed that wasn't ours, while my sister played house in mine. My phone rang constantly. I didn't answer. Amber posted Instagram stories from my kitchen. My mother left voicemails that progressed from righteous to irritated to concerned. "Sophie, stop being childish. Your sister needs this. You have Daniel now. You don't need that house. Why aren't you answering? This silent treatment is immature." 47 hours later, Marcus called. "It's done." The next morning, a process server knocked on my door, my house's door, at 7 a.m. Amber answered in my robe, looking confused. He handed her an eviction notice, immediate eviction for unlawful entry and trespassing. She had 72 hours to vacate or the sheriff would remove her. My phone exploded. Amber called 19 times in 3 minutes. My mother called 12. My father, who usually stayed out of drama, called twice. The family group chat, which I'd been removed from months ago, somehow re-added me just so everyone could yell in text form. I didn't respond to any of it. According to my cousin Beth, who gave me play-by-play updates, Amber tried everything. She claimed she was a tenant. She wasn't. No lease, no rent payments. She said she had permission. She didn't. I had everything in writing saying no. She cried to our parents that I was making her homeless. "You are making her homeless!" my mother screamed in a voicemail. "Your own sister!" No, she made herself homeless when she broke into my house. On day 3, I sat in my car outside my house, watching. Daniel wanted to come, but I needed to do this alone. At exactly 10 a.m., the sheriff's department arrived. Amber was still inside, probably thinking I'd cave like I always had before. I didn't. They knocked. She didn't answer. They announced themselves. She started screaming about rights she didn't have. When they finally got inside, she was barricaded in my master bedroom, surrounded by boxes of her things that she'd already moved in. It took them an hour to remove her. She came out crying, mascara streaming, still wearing my robe. She saw me sitting in my car and our eyes met. The betrayal in hers was almost funny, as if I was the one who'd stolen from her. My parents arrived as the officers were loading the last of her boxes onto the lawn. My mother marched straight to my car, pounding on the window. "How could you do this?" I rolled it down an inch. She broke into my house. "We had keys made. We thought you'd understand." Understanding and allowing theft are different things. Theft? We're your parents! And that's why you're not getting arrested too. My father finally spoke. "Sophie, enough. Let her back in." "No. We'll stop talking to you." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You mean you'll stop asking me for money? Stop treating me like the family ATM? Stop expecting me to fund Amber's disasters? Promise?" The silence was beautiful. Here's what they didn't know. I'd been documenting everything for years. Every request for money, every time I'd paid for something, every birthday forgotten while Amber's were celebrated, every achievement dismissed. My therapist had suggested it, said it would help me see the pattern. The pattern was this. I gave, they took, and everyone pretended it was normal. The house was the line, the boundary, the hill I'd die on. After the sheriff left, I had a locksmith come immediately. New locks, better ones. Security system upgraded, cameras installed. My sanctuary restored, though it would take weeks to really feel like mine again. Amber had done damage. Small, petty things. Scratches on my hardwood floors from dragging furniture, stains on my couch, my favorite mug, the one from my honeymoon in Athens, shattered in the sink. She'd thrown out my plants and replaced them with fake ones. She'd painted over the accent wall I'd spent a weekend perfecting, covering my careful sage green with beige. But she was gone. The family fallout was swift and predictable. Amber moved back with our parents, who suddenly realized what I'd been trying to tell them for years. She was expensive, entitled, and exhausting. Within a week, my mother was complaining about the grocery bills. Within 2 weeks, my father was hiding in his garage to avoid her drama. They called me crying after the first month. "She won't get a job. She stays up all night. She expects us to pay for everything. She's so angry all the time." I listened to each voicemail with my morning coffee, Daniel shaking his head beside me. "Are you going to respond?" he asked once. No, they made their choice. The extended family picked sides, but surprisingly most picked mine. Turns out I wasn't the only one tired of Amber's drama and my parents' enabling.
My aunt admitted she'd stopped inviting them to things because Amber always makes it about her crisis of the week. My cousins confessed they were relieved someone finally stood up to them. But the best response came from my grandmother, my father's mother, who'd been quiet through the whole ordeal. She called me 2 months later. "I've been watching this family enable that girl for 30 years. Your parents failed her by never saying no, and they failed you by never saying yes. I'm proud of you for breaking the cycle." Then she told me something that explained everything. She was leaving me her house in her will, the big Victorian on the hill, the one Amber had always said should be hers as the oldest grandchild. "I'd decided years ago," Grandma said. "You're the only one who understands that houses aren't just given. They're earned, they're protected, they're respected." I cried after that call, not from sadness, but from validation I'd never expected. It's been 6 months now. Amber is still living with our parents, still unemployed, still posting about how family betrayed her. My parents aged 5 years and 5 months. They've stopped calling, finally understanding that my silence isn't punishment, it's peace. Daniel and I repainted the accent wall last weekend. We went with a deeper green this time, something bold, something that says, "This is ours, and we're not apologizing for protecting it." Sometimes I wonder if I should have just confronted them that day instead of going the legal route. But then I remembered the new locks, the entitlement, the assumption that I'd roll over like I always had. They didn't break into my house. They broke into my life, expecting to find the same pushover they'd always known. Instead, they found someone who'd learned the most important word in any language: no. And that word, it turns out, was worth more than any house.